Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Not Another Leeds podcast because one more Leeds podcast can't hurt. Today I'm joined by Kev from the Leeds House podcast. Say hello, Kev.
Hello.
And Joe from the Last Word FC, who's on YouTube as well. You've probably seen his face. Say hello, Joe.
Evening.
Evening. Ooh, very
That'll do.
fancy.
That will do, yeah.
Yeah, so how are we, lads, after this past week? Kev, have we recovered from the last day?
Well, you know how I felt about my favourite player, Sinistera. Obviously, he's done one now, so it was a bit of a more shock towards the end of the window. But as the days have gone, everything's sunk in, and I'm feeling a bit more positive about it now. Plus, it's bloody boiling as well. I'm roasting. I'm literally cooking in my own skin here today. It's mental.
It's that warm. It's that warm that chickens are laying hard-boiled eggs. I get that.
Yeah.
As you can see, you can see the sweat. Joe, how about you? Are you gutted about Sinistera leaving?
It's fine basically, and I think I went into the deadline day going, there's going to be one bit of news. It's probably not someone coming in. Let's just hope it's not someone too big going out. And on the news that he was probably going to sue the club, it's probably best that he's naffed off, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't want that kind of that mentality at Leeds, do we? If you know, it's like what Farker said. It's if you don't want to be at this club, then you can leave. You know what I mean? Seems though we're talking about Cine, but let's dive into it a little bit. We were on the stream, Kev, and we were saying, oh, we might be getting Ilya's chair and all this kind of stuff. I mean, were you surprised? I was surprised that we got Anthony through the door. Were you just thinking that Cine would just go one way?
Well, we were doing it on the obviously on transfer deadline, weren't we? And I was obviously sitting and hoping that we would keep him, even though, and then all that news come out at the end of the night saying, oh, it's gone to a deal sheet, and there was obviously back and forth saying this might not go ahead, and I was sitting there crossing my fingers, but then we obviously got Jadon Anthony.
Sorry.
Oh, he's back.
Am I back?
Yeah, he's back. But yeah, we got Jadon Anthony, and I thought, okay, he's not a bad replacement, really, considering he's probably going to be available for more games than Sinistera, and he's been played in all Bournemouth Premier League games as well, hasn't he, so far this season? He's done quite well. He's really highly rated. So yeah, maybe we've come out of this better than we thought that we were going to.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, oh, really? Do we have to lose Cine to this? But then looking at the stats and that, I mean, Joe, what was your first impressions of the completed deal that Anthony came to us?
Basically, sort of initially good. At least there's something coming the other way as well. And I think I took the approach of Sinistera, although he's good for like a goal every 2 games or something like that, when he's fit, is the fact that he isn't fit ever. And I just had a quick look now. Jadon Anthony is 23 years old, and he's played 83 matches of senior football and a hell of a lot of youth football as well. And there'll be stuff that isn't on this because it's not the most comprehensive thing. So he's definitely someone that can play consistently. He's not too injured any of the time, and he's still got similar levels of like solid attacking returns. He was someone that came off the bench a lot for Bournemouth last season, and even though like he's not quite at Sinistera's level, you're not going to get many players that are at that level coming to the Championship willingly, to be honest.
He's got goals in him, hasn't he? He showed that when he was in the Championship, and his stats both on assists and goals are quite good for considering he's only played like proper 4 seasons at a high level of football. And his first season, he only played 5 games, and after that, he played like 45 matches in the Championship. In that season, I think he scored 8 goals. Let me just have a little look in assists. He got, I can't see assists, but I can see he got 8 goals in the Championship that year, which is really, really good.
Yeah. He got 6 assists with it, I think.
That's brilliant.
So yeah,
that could be the difference of us getting automatics or the playoffs, you know, at a push. Like the thing is about once you've, you know, what's come out about Sinistera, about the legal action and stuff. It's very. I mean, if you're that why is it 2 days before the window? Do you know what I mean? It's come out that we got offered cash deals for Sinistera for the Uh, sorry.
Oh, God's sake,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, bloody hell.
Sorry, James can't be here tonight because he's polyfilling some holes in the wall. As regular viewers will know, he's quite the angry person and likes to take it out on his walls. Good to see you, James.
Yeah.
So obviously Sinistera. I mean, he's on loan. He comes back next season. What do you do with him, Joe? Would you just get rid straight away, or would you try and just reintegrate him? If we are, depending where we are, I suppose.
Even if we get promoted, it's really hard to get a player like Sinistera or say a Christensen or someone like that who said earlier in the window, "I'm going to commit myself to Leeds," and then left anyway. Anyone in that situation is going to be really hard to reintegrate back into the squad, especially with what came out about what Liam Cooper said in terms of if you don't want to be here, fuck off. Because, I mean, to be fair, all of the fans have rallied behind that, and it's not something that's going to be easily forgotten because we're not really a fan base that forgets things.
It's true, isn't it?
Yeah. I think in the long term, you just sort of have to hope he has a really good Premier League season, and then we've got a valuable asset to sell. If he keeps getting injured for Bournemouth this season, not great. If he doesn't keep getting injured for Bournemouth and he plays like he did for us, then it could be 40 million quid. But he doesn't come back, I don't think.
Yeah, there's no coming back for this. I mean, at least Nonto, when he refused to play, at least he's showing that bite and that effort. And when he's playing in games, he's actually trying compared to when was it you or James, Kev, that said that? I think it might have been James actually who said, he didn't give that 100%. He gave that 80%. And he didn't.
Even against Ipswich, when he scored the goal, and we mentioned this before, didn't we? He didn't look like he cared that he scored a goal. He just stood there like that, and it was just a bit all nonchalant, wasn't it? And it's like he didn't care. And obviously, for a player like that, you want to keep because he can just change a game on his own, and he can bring in moments of magic. And as Joe said, you think he could score a goal in every 2 matches from out wide. And if you just thought he was going to have a brilliant season, it's just left a massive sour taste in the fan base's mouth, really. And no, I don't think he'll play for Leeds again. And I do hope that he has a great season for Bournemouth so we can cash in on him next season, really. Because we're going to have to either way. If we go up or stay in the division, he won't be playing for us next year. And I think that's the only hope that we can have from these loan players is that they go out and have great seasons, and then we can sell them. I think the only one that would be welcome back probably would be Jack Harrison. But after what came out yesterday, we don't know what's gone on with Jack behind the scenes, and he looks like he forced to move too when he said that comment about why would you want to go and play for Everton when they're in the predicament that we were, and then now we're obviously on our way back up. So there's something's gone on there as well. You can see that. It's just puzzling how we've let this happen.
Well, I don't think unless you're the fly on the wall at the club, we don't know for 100%. Because obviously Angus Kinnear's interview, it was very much a front in some. You can't trust everything he says. We'll get onto that in a little bit. But like Joe said, this could be it could be a win-win for us because Cine, I mean, in a bit of perspective, Cine could get injured, because he's only played 26 full games, hasn't he, for Leeds United or something like that. And Anthony has bossed the championship with 8 goals, 6 assists or something. Then those could be the difference between our season going up and staying back down.
Well, he played 45 games in the championship, didn't he? That season, out 46, and last season, I believe he made 30, from what it says here, 30 league games in the Premier League. He's already played 3 this year. That shows a sign of someone that doesn't get injured as much, and it could make a good impact for us. We've got good wingers, even with the players we've got now with Somerville, Nonto, Rutter, and Anthony. I'd say we probably got the strongest wide men in the division at the moment. It's just how he's going to knit them together, and because you can see the way we're playing, that he wants one of those guys to play in that 10 role, and maybe he might need to change his system.
So, I mean, going off what Danny's saying here, I think we're all in unison with that. Cine's probably not welcome back. I mean, everyone's got their own opinions, but I think that the general consensus is that we'll get him for the money, assuming that we don't go up this season, and we'll sell Cine for the money. I mean, you got all the others coming back. You've got the flaccid Viking at Roma. You've got Llorente, who's on mega bucks for some reason.
I don't believe that. I don't think he's on 100 grand a week. I think he just said that.
It's something like 120, wasn't it? Something.
Yeah, said he's on £6 million a year. I believe that's massively incorrect. There's no way we'd have done that. Yeah,
we'll get onto that after the thingy, but it's just we've got all. My point is that we've got all these other loans that are coming back, and hopefully they perform well, so we can obviously, my positive mentality about it is we don't go up this year, right? We've got all this, what Leicester and Southampton have got. They've they've sold nearly 100 million for players and stuff. We've only sold 23 million's worth.
Yeah, but that's cheating. They're selling to Chelsea.
Yeah,
yeah,
that is cheating.
I think at this rate, I'd get in the Chelsea team. The amount of injuries, and I'm just like the Saturday League's answer to Luke Varney. Anyway, so that was the last day of the window. I mean, all in all, were you happy with the window coming through? I mean, you've got Joe. I'll come to you first. Sorry, let me just get this. I'll come to you first. What would you give your rating at for this window?
Going into deadline day, it was a nice firm 8, I think, with the number 9 and 10 ironically coming with getting a number 10 in and a left back, because they're areas that were still quite weak. But then again, at left back, we've got apparently Shackleton's a left back now, and he's quite good at it, so why not? We got Firpo, we got Byram. There's probably enough depth, and we got to remember it's still the Championship, which Firpo will probably be fine at. It's not the Premier League. It's probably all right. And then deadline day happened, and I'd probably knock it down to a 7. You got to keep in mind that's like accounting for the fact that a lot of stuff that happened was basically out of who was at the club's control. Like, it wasn't down to I've forgotten the name of the guy that they got in to do the transfers, but it wasn't down to him that we had loan clauses for almost every single important player. I think all things considered, I think 7, 8, maybe somewhere in that area.
That's a fairly decent number. Kev, do you agree?
I agree, definitely. I think it would have been maybe an 8 or a 9 if we would have kept Sinistera and not all the stuff happened behind the scenes with people taking us to court and all that. I massively agree. 7 is a good number, 7, 8. And we'll just see what they got to do in January now. Because I'll promise you, there will be looking at targets to bolster this team from January with all the extra money that's coming in now, with all the players off the wage bill. They have to be keeping an eye out for a left back and a 10. But I agree with Joe that Junior Firpo should rip this league up in a Farke system, and not as a defender, but in a Farke system, he should play really, really well as long as he stays fit.
Yeah. That's a big ask, though, isn't it? Keeping Junior Firpo fit. If anyone can keep Junior Firpo fit, he needs a Nobel Prize. Do you know what I mean? But it's good to see that. Like my rating would be 7.5 post Cine transfer, because we've got, although he's not Cine's level, we've got Anthony in, and he's got a good injury record, and he glides. For me, the stuff that I've seen of him, it's like he glides down that wing, and he can Rafinha-esque, if you will, not quite, and it's a bold statement, but that's what you want. You want energy, don't you? And you want this kind of like flair. And obviously on the day I wasn't like, it's kind of like that, but I'd say 7.5. I mean, beginning of the window, I was ready to break into Ellen Road and just do a dirty protest. but yeah, 7.5 I think is fair. Would all agree that 7.5?
Yeah, definitely
somewhere in that area.
Yeah, good. So moving swiftly on, speaking of charity and stuff, we give Sheffield Wednesday their first points of the season. I think we battered them, missed chances, Rutter's composure. But Joe, what's your overall thoughts of the game itself?
I think it's a difficult one, because it's one that you have to go into realizing that the game plan would have been completely ripped up something like 15 hours before when Luis Sinistera went down south, because there's absolutely no chance that Sinistera wasn't initially in that squad. So you're suddenly missing the guy that was going to play on your left wing. That means Somerville goes to the outside, I think, if I remember right. I can't quite remember it too well. Which means you need someone else to play in as the number 10. And everything gets sort of shuffled around and it doesn't really work anymore because everything that you had worked on is gone. And I think that sort of added up because what we were missing was final product in the final third. We kept a clean sheet, which is great, and that's nice and rare for us, and we had a lot of control in midfield. What we were missing was where we literally lost a player like 12 hours beforehand, and I think that's fairly understandable.
Cutting edge, weren't it, Joe? It was just that final pass, someone with that absolute magic that could break open a defense like that. Because don't get me wrong here, we're going to be playing against teams like that a lot this season. And I mean, you can see Nonto and Somerville. Obviously, they haven't played that much because obviously there have been injuries and there was obviously the strikes that Nonto's been on. So they're not 100% match sharp. Piro's just coming into the team. Rutter was injured again at the start of the season. He's just working his way around the team. He didn't play that much last year either. I do think there's good things to come from those attacking players that we've got. The more they all play together, well, they're the fantastic four now, aren't they? So that Rutter, Piro, Somerville, Nonto combo, they're going to play the majority of our matches, and Anthony's probably going to be maybe more of an impact player and play if one of those gets injured. They're going to get better as the season goes on, but there's not much guile there. There's a lot of running, there's a lot of take-ons, and there's some skill, but as Joe said, that there's not much cutting edge and guile. There's someone that's going to unlock a defense more often than not. I can't see that in the current side. So we're going to have to rely on speed, power, and putting away a lot of chances because we're going to need to.
I mean, even then, it could just be it could just be players getting in their own head because it's not like we didn't have the chances. Rutter had that really good save from
Vasquez.
Yeah, something like that. And then there was the one, of course, that he didn't successfully dink over someone. But that's one where if you're overthinking it, then obviously it's not going to go in. And no one would have minded that much if it had gone like a yard wide. It's just the fact that it went wrong in that specific way that everyone was really angry at it. And I understand it, but at the same time, it's not like we don't have quality on the pitch. It's just the day after the end of the transfer window where a team's best player, arguably, has gone. Players are going to get in their own head and they're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen.
Well, he was training, weren't he, on the day? He was training on the day because his left foot patch and apparently said, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere." And then a couple of hours later, he's down Bournemouth in some weird hotel with Robbie Savage. So yeah,
with Robbie Savage, yeah.
It's just strange, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, it's one of them things. It's he's probably just said that just so his card don't get tipped over while he's leaving at 4 parts because you know what Leeds fans and the incredible strength they've got. It's just like you say, Joe, Rutter had that incredible chance where Vasquez just got a strong arm to it, inch above or lower, and it's in. You know what I mean? And it's 1-0, and it's not like he doesn't have the chances either. I think it's just composure. We saw it against Salford, where it just lacked that quick breath and that half a second just to get, to compose himself and just knock it in. We could have battered Salford 5 or 6-0, but it's just to get we were quite lucky not to go down as well. It's just the story of Leeds United where we batter teams, and we saw this under Bielsa where they'll invite pressure. We'll do great intricate passing. We'll absolutely just run rings around them, but we didn't have that edge, and that's the difference of winning the league and staying in the league for me. I mean, if you look at Brentford, who had the front three with BMW, they were great. Do you know what I mean? They had, but the rest of the team won. It's just BMW just took them through. Do you know? But going back to the game, I went on a bit of a tangent. Who was we'll go to the penalty then. For me, that was a penalty. Kev, did you start stomping around the house like an angry budgie when you saw that?
Oh, I was obviously shouting that was a penalty, but I mean, would it be given with VAR in the Premiership? Do you think? I'm not 100% convinced on that. I've seen more penalties, more Stonewall penalties not given than that. But as a Leeds fan, yeah, it should have been a penalty.
It's using my absolute bias. It was a penalty. Yeah. I mean, it does look. It does look from certain angles, a definite Stonewall penalty, and others it looks kind of light. Joe, what's your opinion on that?
I think any situation in which a defender stops running towards the ball and visibly changes direction into an attacker is really hard to not give as a penalty. And it's very EFL that he just decided it's probably fine. It's not a foul at all. I mean, I guess there's technically an argument for like it's not obstruction, but at the same time, it's basically a rugby tackle. Like I think most reasonable referees probably just give that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that Nonto's got his body across. Is it Eortha? He's got his body across.
Yeah,
and he's literally like, you can't see on camera, but like bang, not bang, but leaning into him, and that causes him to go down. And for me, it's just like you say, it's just pure EFL. It doesn't give it, but we've seen it before, haven't we? It's just terrible. Points drop then, definitely. Do you think, Kev?
Yeah, of 100%. Any match that we don't win this year is going to be points drop for us.
Especially when you got Leicester fans saying that they're going to beat the points record. Do you know what I mean? Because they've won. Is it 4 out of 5? 5 out of 5?
4, I think. Yeah, 4.
Yeah, 4. So I think we'll catch them up. Once we've got Jed Spence in, we've got I think Gruever. He didn't have a really good game yesterday. Caused a goal for Iran. Bottom of the league, Sheffield Wednesday the club's in turmoil. You know what I mean? The Chan series alienating club legends I've seen today. It's not. It's frustrating. Like you say, it's a clean sheet. Hopefully that stops the rot. But we've got Millwall we've got up next. A tough game, tough side. Cresswell hopefully gets a goal against them. But do you think this next week's going to be beneficial for us, Joe? As in, like, team cohesion?
I think it'll definitely help having the week of getting the team together. It's also going to help that I think Spence isn't on international duty. Pirro, I don't think is on international duty. I think Kamara and Gruev going isn't the most helpful, to be honest, because they're two players that we really needed to bed in fairly sharpish. Like, they've just come in through the door. They should probably like learn the system and stuff like that, but that again could be a fitness thing. Outside of that, it's just a fairly standard 2 weeks of training as far as I can tell. There's nothing that's going to be too like special. I think losing Ampadu and Rodon isn't going to do too much damage because they'd already fit in all right enough. Other than that, I think the core of the squad's still here. It's not a massive issue. Other than Nonto to Italy, I completely forgot he's in the Italy squad and playing in the Championship. It's still quite funny to me.
Well, he was in the Italy squad when he was in Switzerland, wasn't he? So I think the Championship possibly a little bit better than that. So
everyone says that the Championship's the hardest league, and the Premier League's the best league. But like maybe that's what Nonto. I mean, Nonto. Just a spotlight on him for a second. Apparently he's gone to Farker and said, I'm sorry, I took some bad advice. Do you think he were assured that he would be still in the Italy team? Do you think, Kev? That's why he's turned around.
Yeah, that's another one of the reasons. They've just got a new manager in, haven't they? Who won the league with Napoli last year. Really exciting coach he is as well, the way he plays football. And he must have, one of the reasons he must have said, you could be still in the Italy squad, and he's in there. He's at the top, an exciting player, Nonto, especially when he plays for the international team. It's like he steps up a gear as well. Plays really, really good for him, and his past performances are not going to go unnoticed, even if he's playing in the Championship. If he has a good season for us, he's definitely going to go next year to the Euros if they make it. I think so.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we go up this season and he can prove it again for us in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Right, so moving on to the meat and bones of what's happened this week, that Angus interview yesterday, and it's quite the bomb drop. I mean, from what he said today, I mean, I've got all this rubbish written down. I got that into it that I forgot to start taking notes again. So, one of the first things that Angus says, Sam Allardyce came into the club and it says, this team lacks world-class players. Even the worst teams in the Premier League have world-class players. You know, like your West Hams and your Bournemouths even. Joe, right, here's a question for you, Joe. Does this team we've got now in the Championship batter Jesse Marsh's team?
Yes, because it can run for more than 60 minutes.
Ooh,
It's not even like a cat got the claws out kind of thing. It's because I work for DAZN at the moment. I'm like helping with their like La Liga broadcasts, and I've watched Betis a few times, and I've watched Mike Rocker a bit. And I just pulled up his numbers now to have a proper look. He's played in all 4 of their matches so far, and he's only missed 17 minutes. And if I remember right, he was just constantly subbed off for us. He was basically 60 minutes and done, unless we were out of subs, in which case he had to stay on. But it's... Yeah, I think we've got a similarly good attack, arguably a better midfield, because the midfield itself wasn't that good last season. We've got better fullbacks, I'd say, because I think I'd rate Jed Spence over Rasmus Christensen any day of the week. Centre-backs are about the same. Left-back... Is Jamie Shackleton a better left-back than Junior Firpo? And
yes.
Melior's the same. So, yeah. I think it's just, yeah. This Leeds probably beats Jesse Marsh's Leeds, and thus Allardyce's, because he just played 6 or 7 at the back again.
Yep.
Kev?
Yeah, definitely. I'm no hesitation. This beats them from last year. The tactics wise would beat them. The width of the team, Spence and whoever's playing left back would just overlap their entire team because the way how narrow they were. They're destroyed. In fact, as Leeds would definitely beat Manchester Leeds. There's no doubt about it right now.
Jesse Marsh would be screaming at his dugout. They're scared. They're scared. That's what terrible, absolutely terrible. But when you've got Big Sam coming in and saying, "Yeah, I think this is unrelegationizable." Do you know what I mean? It's a big statement from Big Sam. Is that? And he also goes on to say that Jesse struggled to pull the staff together. I mean, when you see new managers and that come in, you need your lieutenants, don't you? And you're in charge of this team. You need people left and right of you doing the jobs that you can't do, and also motivating the squad. And Kev, I mean, I think it was just before he got sacked. We were still getting staff for him. Do you think that was just a shambles?
Yeah, it was a shambles. I don't think they were going to sack him up until a certain point because Orta wanted to see his morals through to the end, didn't he? That Marsh was the right man. I think he brought in his last coach, Chris Armas, a week before he got sacked on a big contract, and obviously Leeds had to pay him out as well out of his contract. So that was another mistake that was made by the board. Dan, if we want to be talking about the board, obviously Joe's just mentioned there that Andrea Radrizzani is having a bit of a beef on Twitter right now he's commented on Lord Leeds' post by the look of it and saying that Angus has threw him under the bus, basically. That's what it looks like. And now I think he's had a bit of wine, so that might be something that everyone...
has he been on the rosé, has he?
Yeah, he said that, and a good friend, Angus Kinnear, should have taken good responsibility of the contracts and the exit clauses as well. Wow, Leeds United is the club that does not stop giving. You know, it's like EastEnders, isn't it? Really, it's just such a drama at all times.
Honestly, it's more drama than the bill.
Yeah, more drama than Cody. It's absolute mental. This is.
It's not just that. It's he mentioned in the tweet that you were just reading out a bit of. He had responsibility of the contract with the exit clauses, which I have never read. And Angus said that it was probably Radrizzani's job to read those contracts, if I remember right, which is not good. And then he also had a go at him because Angus made millions from working with me. And it's like, well, you paid him. It's your hiring decision.
It's paid for. Wow. He's been on the rosé. He's had a big pizza. He's looked at his CCTV cameras and he's seen all the Sampdoria ultras banging at his door because he's wanting to do dodgy signings, and he thought, you know what, I'll rile up the Leeds fans a bit. It's just terrible. I mean,
what is he doing? Oh my God, what
He's
is
not
he
even-
doing?
He's not even part. He's not even part
Oh,
of this team anymore. But yeah,
just let go, mate. Leave it now, please. Just please
She
do it
doesn't
for us.
want you, pal. It's move on.
That's
Go
it,
abroad.
Yeah.
he's giving stalker vibes, isn't he?
Yes, yeah.
Um,
He needs to just chill out, go home, sit in front of his computer, and have a nice glass of milk. Don't you think? That'll sort him out. You know, he'd be really happy with that.
Some calcium, some absolute calcium in
Yes,
his.
that's all he needs. Yeah.
That's all. That's all. Anyway,
It's-
moving on.
yeah, move on. Yeah.
Right. So he goes. He furthermore says that there's no more director of football. So Victor Orta's sort of role is sort of split between Greta Steinberg,
Steinson.
Steinson, and the guy from my brain's
Hammond.
favorite Hammond. That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah, the one from Top Gear, isn't it?
Yeah. The Stig.
Yeah,
the Stig. Stig is in charge of recruitment for Leeds. Someone has to be, don't they?
Yeah, along with Barney Rubble and Dino from the Flintstones. It goes on to say that that's now like Farke is now the first team manager, which is great because that's what Bielsa said. You know, no,
Yeah.
I'm that. And that Marcelo said, back me and replace the squad. And he wanted to replace the entire squad because it's like a 2-year cycle. But this is where you think like he can spindle stuff and lie basically. I've seen some other people say that he's chatting rubbish, and then right, that's it's all over the spectrum. Joe, do you believe that Bielsa wanted players that were cost about in that first season after finishing 9th? Do you believe that he wanted 50 million players through the door? 11 of them.
I wouldn't say 11 of them. I'd say like it'd be a 5 or 6 players in kind of job because at that point we had Melier, who was still looking quite good. We had Llorente, who at the end of that season looked quite good. Everyone was sort of singing his praises. Forgotten who we had at left back. Was it Alioski at that point, or sometimes Dallas? And that was before Dallas got broken. There was a nice core of players there that needed, I think, 4 or 5 like replacements in it, but getting those replacements in would have been absolutely obscenely expensive, like looking at it realistically. And I can see why, from the board's point of view, going good Premier League footballer right now costs 30 to 50 million quid, 50 if we want to keep up with this 9th place finish. It's probably a little bit out of our reach. And then throughout that season, things start dropping off. We get players injured, and then we ended up where we ended up with Jesse Marsh. But I think it would have been insanely expensive in that second season to have done a rebuild of the scale that we needed, whether that's Bielsa's fault or not.
You can see what sort of players he was going after, couldn't you? Because he wanted Rodrigo de Paul from Udinese at the time, and I think he went for about 25 to 30 million. Gvardiol, Kvaratskhelia before he went off to Napoli. We could have got him on the cheap. I know.
Somewhere.
There was, and obviously I think Bielsa really wanted him, and I think we didn't want to pay £8 million for him or something like that. It's really, really strange. That's the story that I've heard. I don't know how true that can be. Don't quote me on that. But you can see what sort of players Bielsa wanted to bring into the team. And obviously we didn't get those players. We got Dan James and Junior Firpo.
Dan James for 30 million, by the way. We're at January as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But English tax, eh? Or
do you know what? I forgot about Dan James when we were talking about our wingers earlier. Do you know, he could have a good impact this year. And I didn't mention him. I was talking about Anthony and that. And he's because of the way it's all far through, everyone's forgot about Dan James. But yeah, he's still there, and he could be a decent weapon in this league.
I think he looks a lot. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, he just looks happier this year, don't he? He looks like he's enjoying playing football again. I just wish he knew how to kick the ball to the side. Yeah, I wish he knew how to do that. If he did that, he'd be an absolute monster.
I just wish he knew how to be a professional footballer and good at it. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I've got a controversial and potentially quite daft take on Dan James. I think he's a good player. I think that we've been tarring him with the wrong brush because he was forced to play as a centre forward all season. Because he's not. He's
Yeah.
like 5'2" on a good day.
On
He
a good
is
day.
at heart a winger.
Yeah,
But-
a right winger, and actually knock it to the side and whip it in winger. And
Yeah.
he's been playing on the left a lot as an inside forward, hasn't he? And we probably could see the best of him if he actually just played as a right winger, just running and trying to cross the ball in. Because when he tries to do it on the left hand side, you can see it's always curling over or going over the back post or not even beating a man. He could be better on that right wing, but the way Farker plays, he likes people to go inside, don't he?
See, yeah, I mean, it does look, staying on Dan James a second, I think it does look more polished this season. I think the effort's there. I do think his crossing is a lot better. He's obviously nowhere near the wingers that we want or sort of have, but I think his effort and he's more rounded now. Do you agree?
It will scare defenders when they come on. You know, like say if he's coming on in the last 20 minutes and a team sat back and defended and lost their energy, they're not going to enjoy seeing Dan James come on the pitch. He's just going to run at them at speed. He's one of the fastest players in that division, and even in the Premiership, he's up there as well. He's just pure speed, and he just needs to harness that ability that we all hope he has. And I agree with Joe. He did play out of position for us for a long time. If you can get him into a natural position and get him in a run of games, he could be a good player. It's just, I do think we've got better than him right now as well.
Circling back to the Bielsa era, like I'm sure I'm not alone in this. I'm sure you would agree, but I just can't help but see that were such a missed opportunity. Where if we'd have invested in Bielsa and his ethos as we did in the Championship for 2 years previous, I just feel like we could, and eventually Rads might have sold, and we could have been that Newcastle, that Brighton. Now, do you know what I mean? Obviously, it's taken Brighton like 14 years to get to where they are now, but I just think do you think it's such a missed opportunity, Joe? Like we could have been the Leeds United of old, dominating.
Yeah, I think I'm just having a quick look for it now. Like our spending in the first season coming up into the Premier League was absolutely bonkers. It was something like 120 million pounds or something. And as much as we would have all liked to have sustained that spending season after season after season, sometimes you just can't do that, including when your owner is an Italian with not as much money as he wants to have and access to a Twitter account. But
and red wine.
Red wine. But outside of that, you've got to consider that what Brighton have done isn't from spending a lot of money either. Like what Brighton do is they look for emerging football markets where not many people are looking for players, such as Japan, for example, with Matoma, or I think it was Ecuador they got Moise Caicedo from.
Yeah.
And Caicedo cost them £4 million, and they've multiplied that times 25. So it's not the amount of money that you spend, it's how intelligently you spend it. And with Victor Orta at the helm, it didn't seem like that was happening. He did have a good eye for like the odd wonder kid, to be fair to him. And a lot of the time, although his transfers were hit and miss, we did get Rafinha, and that was quite nice of him. But I think it was an issue of we physically didn't have the money to invest more. I just wish we would have invested a bit smarter.
We had to sell Rafinha and Phillips, didn't we, to invest in the third season to bring all those players in. And this knockback effect now of spending all that money on the players last year, I believe Leeds have got over for the next 4 years. It ranges from 50 million down to 40 of instalments that we're still paying for these players. There's big installment fees that we're So we can't go out and spend that sort of money in the Championship, while Leicester and Southampton probably haven't invested the money that they brought in, but that leaves them in a better place than what we are financially on the PNS, because 49ers have got loads of money, haven't they? If they could, if there weren't a like financial fair play, they could literally put as much money as they could, because Leeds' balance sheets aren't as good as some of the other teams in the league because of the way we've got these installments and all that. That's why they've had to loan a lot of players out as well, because financially, on paper, we're in the shit. even though we've got a lot of money from a lot of investors.
The first 2
Yeah.
seasons back in the Premier League as well, we didn't receive a single transfer fee.
Yeah.
So the first season back, I'm having a quick look. The players that went out were Conor Shaughnessy, J. Roy Grott, Jordan Stevens, Robbie Gotts. Second season back was Barry Douglas, Alioski, Wazim Boy, Pablo, Jordan Stevens. It's not the best of players, to be fair, because we didn't have any squad depth. But the fact that we weren't getting any money in was ruining the fact that we couldn't put money out again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
See, on Pablo, this is a very good comment, this. Thanks for that, mate. Main problem was never replacing Pablo. Do you think that their replacement was Brendan Aronson?
Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt about it. They thought Brendan Aronson was going to be that Pablo West player playing in that 10 shadow striker role for the team. And yeah, I agree with that comment straight away. There's no way we're even close to replacing Pablo over the last couple of years at all.
I think it's a little bit moneyball-y because the entire gist of Moneyball is you lose a really good player who scores 3 home runs a game, you get in 3 different players that get 1 each and something like that. So I think the idea was we get Mark Rocker in, he's got the passing range in theory. We get Aronson in, he's got the positioning, and in theory we've built a Pablo.
Yeah.
But in reality, Mark Rocker didn't have the vision, and Brendan Aronson didn't have the positioning, and he couldn't take a tackle. And I'm just going to get the precise number because I don't want to be mean, but I want to be accurate. In 36 matches, he had 9 shots on target last season.
Is that Rocker or Aronson?
Aronson, from attacking midfield.
So you're telling me out of 36 Premier League games, he had 9 shots on target?
9. Yep.
Bloody hell.
If you want it putting another way, it was something like £3 million per shot on target.
Oh my God! Don't. See, this is why I don't do stats. I'd rather just talk because it's going to make me feel even worse now about some of those players. But the Moneyball aspect is proper, right, Joe? It's a really, really good way to put it. That is, they wanted to use that money to bring in, and I think Angus Kinnear said it yesterday on the stream. They wanted to, instead of buying 9s and 10s like you used to, out of 10, 9 out of 10 and 8 out of 10 you used to get out of Phillips and Rafinha, they wanted to buy 6 players that would be 7 out of 10s, and they were not 7 out of 10s at all. Mark Rocker just wasn't fit. He couldn't finish a match, could he? I can count on one hand the times that I've seen him do 90 minutes for Leeds. He did show some signs that he's a good player, but he just wasn't fit enough. And you could see when Sam Allardyce and that come in as well, they said the player's just not fit enough. And I was like, wow, that's the one thing that we pride ourselves on for the last few years in the Bielsa era was that we would just outrun teams and we'll just pass, and chase and press. And we lost our whole identity when Jesse Marsch took over. And in the beginning of last season was just a false dawn, weren't it? Because we had such a good start. I had my snorkels in my bag, thinking we were going to go on a European tour. But in reality, I'm just going to Plymouth Beach, anyway. That's where I'm going.
And not the good type either. Not the posh one. The rough one with Morrison's cats in it and that. Just going back to the interview, he also said that the risks were too high. The signings were too high risk, and they wanted 8 out of 10s, but really they turned out to be 5 out of 10s. I think Dan Moylan, credit to the Square Ball lads as well for this interview because they've conducted it really well. And in some respects, credit to Kinnear because you need to have massive cojones just to face in front of the fan base as well. Yeah. But that it ends there. It says that the players left are not in the future plans, so we can see or expect a mass exodus next season. Obviously, with Adams and Cine leaving, he says he was surprised by the lengths that they wanted to leave and their desire to leave. And I know that Tyler Adams, he used a footballing agent firm, to get out. I mean, the Adams one shocks me. And apparently, rumor has it, allegedly, he turned around and said, "You can rip the contract up because I'm not coming back to Leeds United. I want to move." Joe, where does that stand for you? And is Adams welcome back next season for you?
Adams has been sold, hasn't he? Adams has been sold.
Yeah, Adams.
Sorry, I was thinking of Sinistera. Would you welcome him back anyway? Would you put him at Ellen Road?
No, if we needed to spend 27 million euros on him, I wouldn't. Yeah, it is one where if it was a loan, then maybe, because like we've got more concrete stuff in terms of the Sinisterra thing, because Sinisterra's agent immediately after the move going, sometimes you have to fight for freedom. And it's like, all right, just a little bit of a wanker. But
yeah.
Whereas we didn't get that publicly from Adams, but it's hard to say, really, isn't it?
Well, Adams was at the games, wasn't he? He was there when he was like around Archie Gray, and in my eyes, that's probably just more of him doing that to show the fans that he's still there. I don't think he said rip up my contract or anything like that. I think that's maybe a bit too far, but I do think that he's pushed for a leave though. He obviously has, and
I think he's done it.
Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, go on. No,
you go, mate. Yeah, go. I was finishing.
I think I was going to say that if he has pushed for a move, he's sort of done it the right way because he's not gone public about it. He's probably just like I said, we don't know what was going on in the car, right? You know what I mean? Rip my contract up, man. I'm out of here. That kind of thing. But it was quiet, and then all of a sudden it just came out of nowhere, didn't it? He also says that Llorente. We spoke about this off air. Llorente is not on 120 grand a week. He's not 120 grand a week footballer. I've seen baby giraffes with more composure than Diego Llorente, and they're only like 5 minutes old.
I think that there's something might come out about that soon, maybe from the club, because he's overstepped there. He's definitely not on 100 and something grand a week. It was reported our most highest paid player, even last year at the end of the season, reported that it was Rodrigo on 100 grand, and he was going to take a 30 to 60% pay cut. I believe, there's no way he was on 100 grand a week just for the contract extension for an extra year for him to go to Roma on loan and then go for 15 million, and now it's down to 4. There's no way in how that there's no way in how Roma are paying his wages for 100 grand a week along that. There's no chance.
No.
As far as I can tell from where it was in the interview, though, that was in the section where, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was where Kinnear was saying we were in a position where it was either offer them ludicrous contracts or they leave. So I think he might have been referring to, say, a negotiation with Llorente, where Llorente was like, I mean, double my money and fair enough, because I can completely believe he was on 60 grand a week.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Yeah, it might be something like that where Llorente's gone, give us 120 grand a week, and then Kinnear's just misspoken or something like that. That's something that I can see making a little bit more sense than.
I think he said 6 million a year, didn't he, or something like that?
Yeah.
So that could be bonuses or like that, you know, in his contracts. But right, anything? I know that you were baffled about Millier and the bids, Kev.
Yeah. I just thought if we needed players, we need players, and we need money to buy players, and we bought in Caldalo. Why are we rejecting £25 million plus for Illan Meslier when that money can be invested straight into the team? See, I think there is some smoke and mirrors that is mentioned about this, because I was just baffled that we've knocked back a £25 million bid for Illan Meslier when we're in the Championship, and like I said, we brought in Caldalo. That money, if we sold him, would have gone straight into the playing staff. So it's that one's a bit weird for me, because I don't know if that's genuine or not, because his body language was way off during that interview. He kept going a lot,
very political.
Maybe he's just said this to show that they've had an aggressive transfer window by keeping some of the players that they wanted to keep.
I think with the Darlow part of that, it's important to note that we don't know when there was this Meslier bid. So, for example, if it was right at the start of the window, someone said 25 million quid, take it or leave it, and we say we might be able to get later in the window, get more later in the window, and we don't want to risk Christopher Claesen starting every single week in the Championship, then I can see that being true. Another reason that I don't think it's complete bollocks from him is that it's such a weird thing to lie about. If you're going to make up a lie, you make up a slightly more sane one rather than listing off a bunch of players that we are aware have probably had interest in them with numbers that we've just not heard yet. I think it's completely believable, to be fair. But it's just,
It just doesn't sit right with me the way it came out. But I mean, everybody's different, aren't they? How they can perceive things. And from what when we're talking about bids, it sounded like Nonto, the bid that we received from an unnamed club was bigger than obviously everybody else's, maybe possibly even closer to the 30 mark, and they've rejected it. So it's just strange, isn't it?
It says it does say that we've saved 40 million in wages.
Yeah.
I mean, whether that's what we can put into the transfer window, you know, and he did say, and it was on the list as well, and it goes on just on the back of that as well. He says that there's ways to leave a club, and that's where the body language for me, like his face went a bit pale, and he went, you know, as if like because I think that they banked massively on keeping Sinistera, didn't they? So
I think we all did,
like
didn't we? Really, we all wanted him to stay. Yeah, I think we all wanted him to stay.
But you know what it is. So we'll just move just quickly on to loan watch. So we've got numerous players out on loan, but we'll talk about these a second. I found this. So Rasmus Christensen struggled at the beginning of the season with Roma, facing criticism from fans. Didn't make the Europa squad. I believe Joe he's staying there now though, isn't he? If he's not in a Europa.
Christensen, yeah, he's registered for Serie A, but just not for European football, which is pretty embarrassing if you're a senior footballer who a club has paid money for them to go, honestly, you're not really good enough to play for us against the likes of Trabzonspor and clubs like that. But it's quite funny, so it'll be our problem next summer rather than right now.
Yeah, Cody Drama. Sorry, actually, Kev. Do you like the Flaccid Viking, or would you just get rid anyway?
It was one of our top goal scorers last year, wasn't it? So it's a strange one. But I would rather have Jed Spence even in the Premiership over Rasmus Christensen, and I hate to say I would rather have Luke Ayling than Rasmus Christensen. I think we are way better off without him. I think that was a really weird buy. Everyone thought he was going to come in and be a cult hero, didn't they? Like he was going to be the next Pontus, but in reality, he was the next Brolin. Yeah, it's just terrible.
I must admit, like Rasmus, when I saw him come, I thought, oh right, you know, the highlights on YouTube sold me, and I thought loves a good chest beating badge, you know, this all kind of stuff, and that's what passion merchant. But it's so disappointing that did turn out. Cody Drama had a less than impressive debut for Birmingham in the first game, but will he pick up, do you think, Joe?
I mean, he did pretty well for Luton last season. I don't see a reason that he wouldn't play very well. Like, he'd only been at Birmingham for a couple of days. Anything that happens the day after a transfer window closes, the only response you can have is basically, fine, we'll see what happens next time.
Kev, any thoughts?
I think we'll regret getting rid of Cody Drama, but I just feel like we've got Jed Spence, haven't we? And Cody, we saw the other day that you can't play left back. So yeah, he's probably going to go on to have a really, really good career, Cody Drama. It's just not going to be with us. It's just not worked out for him, has it? It's just
very suspicious. Sorry to cut in. It's just very suspicious that we've had 4 or 5 managers in and they've not picked him. And if they have, it's not been successful. What do you think, Kev? Do you think just not our bag?
It's just not right for Leeds, really. I think it's got to be mental when it comes to Cody Drama, when it comes to Leeds, because let's be honest here, he did get taken the mickey out of by a few managers where he should have been playing, and he was playing other people ahead of him, and he was there, and then Bielsa asked him to stay, and he went out on loan, and then Marsh has not rated him, sent him out to Luton. It's just one setback after another, and he's come back this year when we've been relegated and his club's in turmoil. It's just never been right for him. But I do wish him good luck, because he's never not tried. He's never. It's just not going to be for us, and we're just going to end up losing him for nothing now, aren't we? As well.
Yeah, on loan to end of the season. He can sign a pre-contract agreement in January. He won't be coming back to Leeds United, but wish him best of luck. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Yep.
I hope he plays shit against Leeds. That's all.
He's not allowed
Robin
to play
Cox,
against us, I don't think.
Yeah, he can't
not
play
this
against
season,
us.
no. Not this season, just in future.
And then he's
ever.
staying in the Championship, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. So Robin Cox scored an own goal in his debut match for Eintracht Frankfurt, performing at an average level. Has he been ever more than average, really? Robin Cox, I think he's had a few good games, but
Yeah,
not impressed me personally. I've always thought he was a bit of a calamity, to be honest. What do you think, Joe? Calamity Cock.
yeah.
I quite like that. Nice little bit of alliteration.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
He had a few spells where he was genuinely quite good, but if I know this analogy isn't going to make a lot of sense, but he's quite Bamfordy in that he needs a bit of confidence to play well.
Yeah.
And I'd say I'd put Rotera into the same category, and that analogy makes a lot more sense. But it is the sort of player where if he makes a mistake one game, you can see that the next match it's still in his head, and he keeps overthinking it, and he doubts himself quite a lot, or doesn't make a specific tackle because he's like, well, what happened then? It's a bit like Strauch when he accidentally broke Harvey Elliott. Like, you've got a mistake in your head, you don't want to make that mistake again, so you make a different mistake. And whilst he played well for spells, the moment that mistake kicked in, it was done, basically.
Yeah. He did carry that Harvey Elliott thing with him for a long time. You could see Pascal Strauch. He did that, and then his game completely changed. He just went off the boil massively after that, and then he seems to have picked it back up this year. He's been one of our best players this year. I agree with everything that Joe's just said.
Yeah, I think someone said a captaincy shout. You know, it's not far off, is it? Maximilian.
Oopsie.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Carry on. Sorry.
Maximilian Werber impressing at Borussia Mönchengladbach despite the team's slow start. I was disappointed in Maximilian. I thought he'd been all right for the Championship. Kev, I know you've got his name up back of your shirt. I know that.
I've not.
You're a big fan of him.
I thought when he come in, everybody thought he was like amazing, but I think he was just the best of a bad bunch that we had last year. He just kept getting down onto those last ditch blocks and that all the time, where in reality we shouldn't even be doing that as a football team. Good defenders don't do that sort of stuff. But yeah, when he come out and said he was going to stay, and then he's just buggered off. Probably because he found out how much tax he was paying on half wages, and he just thought, I'm just going to do one to Germany. But yeah, he's another one now. Probably, again, he's just none of those loan players are going to be able to come back. But I do think he could have been a step above some of the other defenders in this division, and he probably could have been our left back really as well, which is funny.
He's good at free kicks.
Mm.
So Matt Rocker, we all know how good he's had a start to La Liga, but apparently he's pushing for a permanent, and it came out that he rang Real Betis or Betis every day. So he's another snake.
It's just mad that it's just mad that these things only ever come out about Leeds, though, isn't it? You don't hear about other players ringing other clubs going, yeah, sorry, man, and it comes out in the media. It's just us. It's literally just us for everything. It's hard to take sometimes, but it's also just Leeds, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have it any other way, though, lads, would we? It wants a boring club. Do you know what I mean? Who wants no drama? What's all that about? Live a little, lose your hairline. It's fine.
Yeah.
Going on to Mr. No Strength, Brendan Aronson had a tough debut for Union Berlin in his first match and received a red card in his second, causing him to miss the last game. Now, we all know that the wind in Germany is quite strong, so he's been on the floor more than he has anywhere else. He'd make an avid breakdancer. I'd give him that.
Yeah.
But Aronson, apart from that Chelsea game for me, I thought, and even then it was a mistake from Mendy, wasn't it? Kev, I want you to lay into Aronson to make me feel better.
I don't want to do it anymore. I've done it for far too long, Dan. I think Chelsea, and I think was it that first half against Crystal Palace where everything changed? I think he was really good in that half as well, because he could do some good things in the box, Brendan Aronson. Sometimes he was crap outside the box, but once he got in it, he was like twinkle toes. He used to be able to go past people, but he just couldn't do anything else anywhere, and just always on the floor expecting a free kick. He's just waned on me. I was like, oh, for God's sake, not this again. Like that. We're just watching him play football. He's just so disheartening. And yeah, he ain't gonna come back either.
For me, Joe, just seeing like he'd always go for the foul rather than just try and win the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thoughts on Aronson and his time at Leeds just to finish off round up?
Would you like my thoughts in the form of words or a series of very depressing numbers? Because I found even more.
I would like it for interpretive dance.
Interpretive dance. Well, I can't quite do that one. Okay. But I can tell you that he's not scored a single goal in the last 365 days.
25 million, by the way.
Yeah. In total, he had 3 shots every 2 matches. He got something like 2 or 3 assists for us as a number 10. What else? Does
it tell you time spent on the ground?
Oh no, not quite. I can probably see fouls won, to be fair. Yeah. But he was in the bottom 5% of players for dribbling with the ball, so that's something that he was supposedly meant to be good at. And his pass accuracy was only about 70%. So most of the time, his passes wouldn't even reach the target.
Yeah,
my 4-year-old son has a better pass percentage. When I take him to football on a Saturday morning, he's got a better pass percentage than bloody Brendan Aronson.
I remember Ian Wright saying how he thought Brendan Aronson was going to be one of the best players in the league after those first few games, after we signed him. Ian Wright was waxing lyrical about him. Oh, God's sake.
Is that the same week he'd just come out of surgery and he was probably on morphine or something?
Probably,
that makes sense then.
It does make sense. It's the only way it does, yeah.
Right then, we all know that towards the end of this podcast, we've got a segment called Top Knob, and you've got some nominations, lads. For how it works is we pick out the knobs of the week. So last week, Bournemouth won it for all 3 of us, me and James and Kev. So without further ado, let's get into
Top Knob.
Top Knob.
That's pretty good, mate. Like that a lot. Yeah.
Move that a hitch. Kev, I'll come to you first for your first nomination.
Oh, top knob of the week.
You can have 2 if you want.
I'm just going to go with, obviously, because it's been a bit of a slow week because of international break. I'm going to go with Rads now for his pissed up. I'm going to go for Rads after his drunken tirade on Twitter tonight. Yeah, he's not done himself any glory. Yeah, I'm telling you. Sorry, Joe. I bet you would have said that if you'd have come to you first. I wouldn't have thought of anyone. I want to go for Rads, and because he tried to sign a sexual offender for his team as well. So there we go. Yeah, he did. Yeah, so there you go. Rads for me. Yeah,
Rads.
I was going to go for him because he's decided to remind us that he existed when.
Oh no!
I'd done a pretty good job of being like, well. He's gone now. We're fine. And then he's like, "Hello, I'm at the other side of the window. Go away."
So, are you going for Rads as well?
Yeah, especially after I've just read another tweet that he made saying, "I can say whatever I like. Feel free to unfollow me."
He's on the wire. This is
who do you think he is? Fabrizio Romano.
Oh no, yeah, this is amazing. This is so good and so cringe at the same time.
I was going to go with my nomination. I've got 3. I want to go Bournemouth again because I just don't like them.
Yeah.
And tomorrow I'll go back to Morrison's when they're not looking and punch some cherries. James for not being here. I'm looking at you. Okay. That's right. And I'll go Rads as well. So
yeah, this week we'll go Rads.
This week, Rads is this week's top knob.
Top knob.
It's just so funky.
It's so good, mate. Yeah, so good.
So now we've got another segment. I warned you about this, Joe. Right?
Yeah.
So Lord Ash on Twitter, I've dedicated some time to him. I don't know if you're watching, Ash. If you are watching, thank you very much. And he basically gives me a question every week, and I said, what what do you want to ask him this week? So he's come out and said, so
Oh, for God's sake.
So, what, hey, the mind of a psychopath, lunatic, So you could have one leg means that you've got 50 pence a year as insurance, or you've got two legs means that there's a risk of randomly pooing yourself twice a year, 100% certainty. So what you're going to have, lads, you're going to have one leg, or you're going to have two legs, but you shit yourself twice a year, which
I'll
is
take
quite
the
low.
legs. Yeah, I'm gonna take legs.
Both.
I don't mind. I'm gonna take the legs because I don't. I'd rather have two legs and shit myself than one leg and 50 pence. That's the way. Yeah.
I don't know. It's 50 pence.
I work
He
from
said
home.
he did.
Doesn't matter to
Yeah.
me.
I'll work from home as well. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
No.
It did say it did go on to say that there's a debate to be had here, and I was like, okay, they're just gonna say two legs, but I'll take the two legs. And I'll just wear nappies all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, this
Yeah.
is the Leeds United podcast, by the way.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Joe, thanks very much for coming on this week. I hope you've enjoyed yourself and
Thanks for
we
having
haven't
me.
bored you to death. Kev, once again, thanks very much for coming in this
No
week.
problem.
And don't forget, everyone, to like and subscribe to this channel, please. We'll see a lot more of Kevin James, who's not here. He's fixing his wall, and hopefully Joe will come back on again sometime. You can find Joe's link to his profile and YouTube channel down below in the description. Joe, can you just tell us right briefly what you do on your channel for us?
I do all sorts of stuff. I cover general football that's beyond Leeds, but I try and keep a bit of a focus on Leedsy stuff just because that's what I care a little bit more about. I'm doing a few more streamy bits, planning on starting up a weekly stream at some point soon. I've not quite worked out when. Maybe after I've gotten wedding planning stuff out of the way, but we'll see. But yeah, just hop over. It's great fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't forget to go subscribe to his channel as well. And we've got Kev. You can find his link to his channel down below as well. And thanks very much, lads. Another one in the bag. And let's do that thing where we wave at the camera and say bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.